great day in the morning, brave hearts, urbanites, and Coach Mad Hatters. And welcome to Installation Day 9 of the 90-Day Journey by Heart. Our agenda is full today. And so we're going to patiently roll through this. As a rule of thumb, I like to keep it to an hour. Um, but our theme for this installation is synthesizing. And it was on my heart this morning to do a synthesizing session every 9 days or within, um, yeah, the cycle of every 9 days inside this 90-day cycle, a cycle within a cycle, if you will. The purpose of the synthesizing is to briefly review, clarify, and make better light of what we've already discussed from day one, as well as throw in some newer stuff. We will be making sure that Day 9 has its own um, original flavor, but there will be some review on the table too. Yes. So we're going to start off with um, oh, and also let me just say that there may be moments where I will have to pause, just for the sake of um, the family vibe, making sure that we give our homestead honorarium where it's due. And the word of the day is balance. And in the last installment for days 6, 7, and 8, I made reference to the strength card and the infinity sign above her head. Honestly, because I was still in the zone of day 7, when in fact, yesterday was day 8. But I failed to give you the connection to how I grouped the strength card with Mercury. The strength card is not Mercury, it's Leo. But here's where my logic was and where I left out a piece that would have connected the dot. The infinity sign, with it being day 8, the infinity sign above her head is also the infinity sign above the magician's head, which is mercurial energy and our efforts to use or tap into the energies of the elements, um, as it definitely relates to Saturn and Mercury. And those that do not speak the language, it may be a bit confusing for now. The delightful part of these videos is that you can refer back to them, which is one of the things that I was led to do this morning. Check in with Sarah Verba. So, Virgo's reading for September, well, as a matter of fact, well, all of her readings, she is starting to do this wonderful exercise to close out, is that she leaves you with a handful of affirmations that's in conjunction with your sign and the reading. With my Virgo moon and my Virgo ascending. I am stepping into peculiar energy um, in light of my sharing my discoveries. And if you've sat in on any of my recordings, um, you've heard this before because I have taken on the oath to be transparent. We started out this series with the notion of being tenderly transparent and not hiding or masking or trying to bury the influx of energy that could be flowing in and out, up and down, around and around at any point with me as I roll through this, ebb and flow through this series. Um, so balance shall be our golden key for the day. When there's balance, there may be a multitude of things happening. And our ability to get in here and get in there and lean back with it a little bit or lean in with it a little bit is how we will get a steady tapping and tuning and turning. We're getting out of this thing that's called routine and predictability because there truly is a new ushering and we must learn how to dance with it. And what's quite interesting is that it will dance with us. Um, it will honestly reflect back to you what you give it. I'm going to read the 4 affirmations that Sarah concluded the September Virgo readings with. Reading. I am balanced and open to new experiences. I am allowed to be reflective and expansive in each day. When I work in a place of playfulness, I get more done and I feel more relaxed. I release my resistance to change. The storyline that I'm going to offer up for today's installation is the story of Emily Dickinson, specifically through the new series that's coming on Apple TV. I will link the trailer inside the keynotes because it's just wonderful. It is so wonderful. It goes along the lines of to our journey by heart, and more specifically, my journey by heart, and how she, yeah, her whole entire fundamental storyline was her pissing off people and literally like dismantling the status quo so that she could adhere to the voice inside her that rang between her head and her heart. Her devotion to her first set of senses. Those conversations and those instructions that you hear loudly that no one else hears. You hear loudly in your solitude and in your silence. We are still dancing with the full moon's energy in Pisces. Allow your newness to come in. Allow your agitation to be part of your ponderance. It's not going to always be blissful. Emotions are always spoke in the realm of them being bad or something that we can't necessarily contend with. I often wonder what type of beings we would be if we were led in balance, meaning we gave homage to our logic and our emotional, intuitive, chaotic, creative zones. That we were welcomed to uncover those magical mysteries around our identity, around our um, intuitive representation, as well as around the immaculate connection between our strength and our inner magician, our inner musologists. So I'm going to read something to you that I read in, I think, installation day 5, I believe. I believe it was installation day 5. And it's worth another review. Let's see, it makes the screen. Yeah, it's worth another review. So let's take a look. So it's from Light Watkins and it's titled The Failure Advantage. Growing up, Sarah Blakely, the founder of Spanx, had an unconventional family dinner tradition. Her dad wasn't interested in hearing about her accomplishments at school. Instead, he wanted to know what she had failed at that week. And when she told him, he would high five her and say, "Way to go." Blakely's father was helping his children to treat failure as a healthy part of growing into their potential. And he wanted them to understand that the outcome of trying something new, wasn't nearly as important as the attempt. This reframing helped Blakely use failure to her advantage both in her personal life as well as in the business world. And by being unafraid to fail, Blakely eventually worked her way into becoming the youngest self-made female billionaire in history. It's never too late to reframe failure. We can start by celebrating our recent failures and being unafraid to try new things. I am balanced and open to new experiences. And as I've said often in this series as well as other series, that these recordings is as a result of massive failures and me stepping into that uncomfy zone to share my discoveries. And with my Chiron being in Aries and my Saturn being in Gemini, as well as my Black Lilith being in Libra, all I have to offer you up is my failures. That's all I have to offer you. Um, but even uncovering and researching and developing around the open access journal article number 11 through Purdue University, speaking about Chiron as a cultural archetype. Only those that understand what it's like to be part of the lost boys, the voiceless, the unemployable, the underdog, will be able to serve appropriately inside those arenas. Stepping into that type of arena, you cannot be shamed by your mistakes. It took me so long to understand that. I battled against the notion that how I was going to be able to be of service was me offering my wounds on a platter. In this highly competitive, highly superficial, highly fluffy, vanity fairish, like how in the world was I possibly going to do that? I really think that that was the majority of the timeline. Me trying to find a way around that to see if I could present myself without having to mention any of my failures. But the incredible part about it is that is the reason why I am able to speak so passionately and in some cases matter of factly, because I have an entire portfolio full of failure, full of them, which lends me the leverage to speak firsthand. And because we live in an era that is so comfortable with using shame as a weapon, using insecurities as a blanket, a comfy blanket, a whoopee. They love their whoopies. I love my whoopies too. So yeah, this isn't all inclusive. We love our whoopies. When it's time to examine or take away the whoopee, especially for the sake of venturing, traveling, the wild unknown, to reclaim, recapture, rescue bits and pieces of ourselves that are tangled in this thing we call social conditioning, to acclaim, to declare ourselves the one. The oracle, meaning aka your intuition, in light of your never ending story, your southern oracle cannot tell you you're the one, Neo. You have to claim that for yourself. But once you do, a flood of invisible support and inspiration and power and infusions are yours to have. They are yours. They already rightfully belong to you. And they are so unique that they only go along with your celestial patterning. So it's like one of those things. And it's not even, I started to say, if you don't use it, you lose it. That's not true. It is yours to tap into the entire time you are in this realm within embodiment. Now, if you don't access it or you don't do the research and development to understand what it is that you can be accessing, then it'll just be like food without seasoning. You can still eat it. You can still eat it. Order your Dynamo Edifice 1.0 now. Right now. Right now. Get in contact with us. Find out how you can get access to it and treat yourself and your club. Treat your Infinity Club to this. See what's in it. See what type of newness awaits you by engaging in this material. It was also on my, I want to say it was on my heart. I wanted to say it was on my mind. Maybe it was traveling back and forth. Let's do that. So there is a notion that resides inside the corridor between my head and my heart, between my crown chakra and my heart chakra stations. And it seems to be now traveling to the point where I am now aware of it. I will begin offering up private videos for affinity clubs and organizations, mainly nonprofit organizations, right at the moment. And to hone that down even more, community based nonprofit organizations. Um, Truly those that seek a unconventional approach to balancing out their logic and their intuitive trifecta, if you will. And that means that they are not only financially invested, intellectually invested, but also emotionally invested in their staffers, those that come to work every day to make sure that the progressive insurance stays intact. We're going to do the hosting of Imagineering and introspection and intuition and primary focus, meaning intra personal development as well as interpersonal development. And we are going to attempt to find the playfulness and the balance of it all. We will be needing to tap into those areas that may at the moment seem hard to penetrate, hard to permeate, resistant, and see if we can declutter our organizational lymph, our organizational lymphatic systems, so that emotion can adequately flow, that we save space for those emotional moments because it will bring balance. It'll bring balance back into those places that need the heart just as well as the brain. Our primary source of content and context will be pulled from the dynamo effect in conjunction with bits and pieces of certain areas within this series and the um, Comfy Sofa Conversation series number one. So let's see here. Um, as well as the 13 steps of the Shiro Hero's journey. Yes, definitely. Okay, so on September 10th, I was inundated with the urge to tap into Dr. Richard Tarnas through, let me say this, it's urging me to say how I even found out about Dr. Richard Tarnas through his daughter, Dr. Becca Tarnas. She does this immaculate review, and as a matter of fact, she did her entire dissertation on the Red Books, both the one from Carl Jung and the one from J.R.R. Tolkien. And really, really quick, mainly because I am super excited about this moment, I would like to share her new book as well as the autumn course that she will be facilitating through Newer Learning, N-U-R-A learning.com. Turn it this way so I can see what I'm doing. So, hmm, this happens to me all the time. Hmm. So it's like, where is it? Oh, also, really? Well, let me not get ahead of myself. Okay, so Dr. Becca's. Hold on, I need to refresh the page because I think it comes out today. Yes, so it actually releases today through Revlor Press. And Revlor Press, um, I have made mention before, um, and it escapes me if it was inside the Journey by Heart in this series, or if it was in the um, I think it was in the Comfy Sofa Conversation series. Anywho, okay, so the title of the book released today on Amazon. I will definitely put the link inside the keynotes. It's called Journey to the Imaginal Realm, a reader's guide to J.R.R. Tolkien's The Lord of the Rings, neurologicals, which, as I said, is the connection to the course that she will be hosting um, through the Newer Learning platform, which I will also host in the keynotes. Um, the founder of Newer Learning. No, I'm sorry, the founder of Revlor Press is Jen. What is going on? Jen Zart. Jennzahrt. And then now that I think about it, it was during the Comfy Sofa Conversation series that I gave honorarium to a quote, one of Jen's quotes, speaking about narrative and speaking about literature and language and how astrology is like the golden key ring to how all of those elements are connected and the types of experiences, learning, especially learning experiences, but as well as personal and professional experiences, one may have on a more elevated level when it's able to incorporate this thing we call imagineering, and when we are not even necessarily confident, but we are curiously comfortable enough to tap into our wild unknowns and explore this thing called the imaginal realm, which is different from imagination. Now that I think about it, I think I'm going to link in Dr. Becca's her her dissertation. I'm looking on here, but it's on YouTube and incredible. Okay, so I think I'm going to as well tap that in there so that those that are on a active, engaging quest to tap into, turn on this inner wisdom in conjunction with the literary world, the storytelling world, the liminal, the liminal world between logic and intuition. So, Dr. Richard Tarnas, Becca's dad, also a research and developer within the realms of astrology and literature and all sorts of other things. He released a paper some time ago titled An Introduction to Archetypal Astrology Analysis. I'm going to spend a little time unpacking what was revealed to me while digging into this piece, which shall complementarily, hang on a second, stand by, that will give forth a complementary, that will stand as complementary with an E, that will stand as a complementary element to link in our wounded healer archetype as a cultural archetype, and how the philosophy of the, what am I trying to say, the connectivity of wounds, the shared, the sharing, or yeah, the sharing of firsthand knowledge, the sharing of experience, the sharing of familiar experience, because no one person experiences an event the same, even if they were there within that very moment. But the sharing of familiarity within certain wounds um, allows for a balance of empathy and mutuality. And I truly unpack that in the last installment um, through the article from Purdue University. This blends so well into that, and it further unpacks, it further seasons, it's further, it further gives not necessarily spice, but taste. It gives divine taste to what it is that we are seeking to encounter while we journey by heart. A birth chart or natal chart is a portrait of the planetary alignments at the time of your birth. The basic principle of astrology is that the planets have a fundamental, cosmically based connection to specific archetypal forces or principles which influence human existence, and that the patterns formed by the planets bear a meaningful correspondence to the patterns of human affairs on the earth. In terms of individuals, the positions of the planets at the time and place of a person's birth are regarded as corresponding to the basic archetypal patterns of that person's life and character. I know that we weren't brought up, we were not groomed, programmed to seek out our birth chart as a form of self curriculum. To be quite honest, it's information that has been shunned and tucked and buried and misconstrued and demantled, because to understand one's birth chart is to become, and I'm trying to think about the world renowned chess player. Oh, I can't think of his name right now. Ah, shucks. It's gonna come to me. I know it's gonna come to me. Okay, so like to understand your natal chart and where the planets were placed is like you facing off with your very own unique style of chess board and pieces. And you will be able to confidently, with full of adequate esteem, make certain plays, make certain moves. Don't make certain plays, don't make certain moves. Emotionally engage, don't emotionally engage. Logically engage, don't logically engage. To be or not to be? It really is the question. Wholeheartedly, that's the question. Astrology makes possible a further understanding of one's life, its cycles, its ups and downs, the crises and the breakthroughs, the periods of major change and transformation. Through the study of transits, which is the processes, cycles, and seasons, And I put it also in parentheses, um, the tour guide of one's journey to know thyself. Transits occur. Transits occur. Yeah, they happen. Astrologically speaking, when the planets currently in the sky from certain geometrical patterns with respect to the planetary positions at one's birth. The nature of those planets, which planets, in parentheses, which planets are involved and how they are positioned, appears to correlate in a strikingly consistent way with the archetypal character of the experiences one tends to have at that time. So, the important matters when approaching astrology: nature of archetypes, determination versus free will, astrology's causal mechanisms, why they work. Remember, in this installation, as well as all the others, it's often made mention that we are dealing and starting with why. Why do you do what you do the way that you do it? What is an archetype? For present age purposes, we can define an archetype as a universal principle or force that affects, impels, urge to action, structures, urge to action, structures of human psyche and human behavior on many levels, also known as primordial instincts, also known as a translucent first principles, also known as translucent first principles, also known as the gods of psyche. So, Freud is the one that determined them to be primordial instincts. Plato is the one who determined them to be uh, not translucent, I'm sorry, transcendent first principles. And James Hillman determines them to be gods of psyche. Having very specific psychological expressions, archetypes seem to work both within and without, for they can express themselves as impulses and images from the interior psyche, yet also as events and situations in the external world. Carl Gustav Jung thought of archetypes as the basic constituents of the human psyche, shared cross culturally by all human beings, by all human beings, and he regarded them as universal expressions of a collective unconscious. In support of astrology, Jungian's view gives evidence that archetypes are not only visible in human psychology, in human experience and behavior, but are also linked to the macrocosm, the entire multiverse itself, to the planets and their movements in the heavens. Astrology thus supports the ancient idea that the anima mundi, the world soul, the collective unconscious, in which the human psyche participates. We tap in, we tune in, we turn on, also known as the divine. From this perspective, What Jung called the collective unconscious can be viewed as being ultimately embedded within the cosmos itself. Man, woman, know thyself, and ye shall know the God. Then we're going to tap into the element of free will versus determinism. I will preface this upcoming reading to say that I um, am still tapping into the powers of and. So even though inside this piece it's free will versus determinism, I honestly am beginning to figure it as free will and determinism. Like there are some moments of our lives where we are truly in the gears of free will, and then there are those moments that are faded that was predetermined in the 5D that is following us in the 3D. Um, Almost as if the faded part is the outline of the image inside the coloring book, and the free will is how we color inside the lines or outside the lines, however you want to. Because some life path photos are not all that neat, and they're full of chaos. So, however you want to color it, we're gonna say that. However you want to color your picture, your image. It uses it. I'm sorry. It used to be the belief, and in some cases still is. I put that in parentheses. In some cases still is that astrology reveals a person's destined fate. That the birth chart was, put in parentheses, is rigidly deterministic. Properly understood, however, astrology can serve to greatly increase personal freedom rather than limit it. Partly because the awareness of the basic archetypal structures and patterns of meaning in one's birth chart allows one to bring considerably more consciousness to the task of fulfilling one's deepest potential and one's authentic nature. But astrology's emancipatory character also derives from the fact that the more deeply we understand the archetypal forces that affect our lives, the more free we can be with our dealings within them. To be unconscious of these potent forces, we are like puppets of the archetypes. We then act according to unconscious motivations without any possibility of being intellectual agents interacting with those forces. Dr. Joy DeGruy speaks of, in several of her lectures that you can find on YouTube, about her trip to Africa and how their greeting. And me and my best friend was talking about this maybe about 4 or 5 weeks ago. Like when we see folk, why within the greeting we say how you doing, and I have been inside my inner ear being challenged that the response how I do what. Be like how you doing, how I do what. So much so that it's now catching me. Like I still do it in habit, just because it's just part of my everyday fiber. But when I am preparing to engage um, on a more diversified level, I have to begin to contour my greetings. Now, it's still going to take some time, but it is intricately, it has made itself intricately present. I am now aware of it to the point when I say it now, it immediately shows itself. So now it's hi, how's it going? Um, that's about as far as I got right now. Because it is so ingrained. It is second nature for me to say, "Hey, how you doing?" and not even know who they are. Like even in passing in the grocery store, "Hey, how you doing?" And it's just like, "How am I doing what?" So Dr. Joy speaks about when they greet you, they say, "Hi, I see you." As if to say, "I see the God in you. I see the goddess in you." We, we would probably take a moment to really be able to authentically and genuinely offer that type of greeting because we still think in modes of good and evil. We swear that a demon is of some evil nature. Ooh. And it's like understanding certain things from a mythological, from a fantastical, from a fairy bound, um, from a cosmic astrological sense. Demons are something totally different in those worlds. And I can't really say what element of social conditioning deemed them evil per se, but I know that because most of our community commentary is still steeped in religiosity, it may take a moment because I could just see it beginning to be used in such a derogatory manner that it would lose its honorarium. It would lose its namaste effect, if you will. It would lose this. It would lose the purity of the greeting. I could just see it happening. But but understanding one's birth chart gives forth a new language where you could honestly, easily be able to greet someone, "Good morning, I see you." And they return it with a smile and a loving gesture. "Good morning, I see you." It almost feels like someone saying, "Good morning, I love you." I'm going to keep it moving. When we are conscious to the archetypes, we can respond with greater autonomy. The condition of being self governing and self aware. To become conscious of the unconscious, to release ourselves from the bondage of blind action, to explore the experience, to explore and experience the hidden forces of human psyche. I often say, and I probably will say many times again, that Psychology 101 should be the conversation around the dinner table. Like, don't fucking talk to me and regurgitate no goddamn news to me. You know what? I'm going to stand in this for just a moment because if the news would take account that there is more going on than just tragedy, or just selling of some product or marketplace, then maybe I would be a little bit more standby. That maybe at some point I could welcome it in. Like, okay, so the news gave a balanced report about this, that, and the third. Like, I've even gotten to the point where some things were hosted on the news, and it just so happened to have been in conjunction with folks that I knew, and they would outrightly refute how much of the story was dismissed, was not included. It's like, is that what they doing? Or just write out made up, be like, oh, hoo-hoo, is that what they doing? So there's certain things that I wholeheartedly believe as a coach Mad Hatter regarding the power of conversation and how we ought to elevate it, even if it's just a tick or two above this small talk, above regurgitating the news or sports or the weather or anything inside of consumerism. Astrology's great merit is is that it seems to reveal very precisely which archetypes are especially important for each person, who they interact with. I'm sorry, yeah, who they interact with, and when and how they must likely be expressed in the course of each human life. The quintessential inquiry around one's birth and the seemingly randomness alongside the assigned weight of the birth chart with its specific configurations of planets. The quintessential inquiry around one's birth and the seemingly randomness alongside the assigned weight of the birth chart with its specific configurations of planets. And then I put in parentheses my honest slash humble belief. The circumstances of our birth are not accidental, but are in some sense a consequence of our spiritual and karmic celestial character. And I've made mention before that I am slowly but surely maturing into the wholehearted declaration that I signed up to be here in this embodiment at this time and space to experience a certain amount of life embedded in between the tears of my parents and my children. Like, this is the way I stand, my parents, my children. And we're talking parents and children in physical and celestial elementals. Sometimes we be wondering, like, truly what the cross is all about. I would love to know if there's anyone out there that have And I almost know that red pill and blue pill have, but as well as Sister Myra Mars, Brother Rich, Panic, Bobby Hemmett, that crew, I know they have. Um, but I'm supposing the likelihood of us regular folk like have honed into the symbology of the cross and what it really truly means inside the human psyche, inside the human intuition, inside the connectivity between one's physical human embodiment and one's celestial source. We choose the family and culture and age into which we are born. And that that this choice is somehow made from a higher level of our spiritual being that that of which we are usually conscious. From this point of view, the birth chart is not the allotted prison randomly allotted prison structure of our inexorable inexorable I don't know that word, unable to be persuaded. I put that in parentheses, I think, because that's a new word. Let me underline that just to make sure that I investigate that a little bit more. Um, Prison structure of our unable to be persuaded fate, but can be seen rather as defining the basic structure of our potential unfolding, suggesting the personal gifts and trials that we have chosen for this lifetime to work within and evolve through. Astrology illuminates the fundamental archetypal dynamics that profoundly condition our lives, which is not to say that they absolutely determine our lives. So like I say, it is the outlined image inside of the coloring book, but you can declare to color it any kind of way you want to, in and out of the lines if you want to. I don't think they truly meant it literally when they say take it back to childhood. There are certain things that we ought to be metaphorically applying when those principles are brought forth to us. There is a certain kind of childlikeness to being able to freely color in and out of lines however we want to do it. If we are the neat type, then we will color nice and neatly inside all the lines. If we the chaotic type, we got the permission to do it that way too. Without guilt or shame. Without guilt or shame. So I'm wondering if I'm gonna pull cards. Um, I think installation 9, especially in light of this being the synthesizing session, we're going to do a part B. This is part A. We're going to do a part B because I do want to tap into um, the different houses and just share some zodiac archetypal characteristic basics and fundamentals. And then also go over a few bullets that Sarah Verba um, outlined with regards to our interior months, which is I have established as from April to August, because we will be Um, Even though we're moving forward, we will be honoring our power of Sankofa so that we can, even though we have our feet planted forward, just reflecting and briefly just taking a look at certain things so that they can act as certain ingredients to how we move forward. Yes. Uh, so I believe that that is about it for this installation, folks. Um, so I'll close with this. This is whom I deem the real Justice League. And I'm not sure if you can actually see them because they are not clear from where I sit. So, the real Justice League, Infinity, Serendipity, I gotta look at it this way, Ameliorite, Epiphany, Hope, Love, Asynchronous, Fortune, Wisdom, Clarity, Destiny, Karma, Creativity, Serenity, Affirmation, Gratitude, Compassion, and Truity. Truity. I like to say a truity, but it's truity. These listed is the real Justice League. The real Justice League. They are also conduits of a balanced hue of emotions. When they arrive, they can arrive to give lessons of goodness or lessons of toughness, but they're all arriving in love. What we do with it determines how we feel about it. Free will and determination. So, that's our installation for day 9, part A. We are going to hurry up and not hurry up, but we're going to immediately piggyback so that we can get the second part of this installation situated. So yeah, so now will be a wonderful time for you to regroup, go get your tasty beverage, whatever it is that you may be needing to do in the intermission, and stay tuned.